was a cunning politician of the capitalist interest. Lenin was the key founder of the Bolshevik Party to develop capitalist mode of production in Russia by its founding declaration and program. So, started his political mission to serve the capitalist interest by founding the state Bolshevik Party. Therefore, he was not against slavery to end exploitation of men by men by banishing capitalist mode of production by the program of his party. Even he was not for even more benefits and facilities to the workers of the Russia than other countries like New Zealand by the declared program of the reactionary Bolshevik Party, a party of the reactionary peasants, a fraction of the exploited capitalist class too. Bolshevik Party was not working class party to unite the workers of the world to fight against the exploited capitalist class, to grounded it forever by ending slavery, by abolishing capitalism, a global society of numerous commodities with a global market based on selling and buying, by slavery, commodity, capital, exploitation, class and class rule, etc. But rooted on private property by the communist revolution, the culmination of contradiction of the exploited capitalist class and the exploited working class for a new society based on social ownership of means of production, transportation and communication with a single one and undivided mankind with full sense of humanity. In fact, the outcome of contradiction of the exploited capitalist class and the exploited working class is communism, a scientific society of equals, free from exploitation, exploiters, rulers, leaders, preceptor, etc. Therefore, Lenin was for the capitalist interest by birth condition of his party, a party with a fascist organization policy, the democratic centralization for what the RSDLP has divided in its founding Congress 1903. Lenin was the planner to capture the state power of Russia by a military coup at night by taking the negative advantage of the heinous First World War, and thereby he and his company has captured the state power of Russia by the military coup at night, and thereby he formed a government but rejected by the voters by the election of the Constituent Assembly held under the rule of Lenin. But Lenin has ignored and denied the verdict of the majority voters of Russia, and thereby he founded a state of state capitalism by ignoring and denying his own party program for a democratic state. In fact, Lenin has betrayed the supporters and workers of Bolshevik Party, those who are for democracy, by ending the autocracy of supreme dictator Shah. Thereby, he founded his state, a state of capitalism, by its constitution 1918, where the rate of exploitation was much higher than USA, the leading capitalist country of the world. Lenin was not unknown about socialism, the replacement of capitalism owned by the working class and all, but not possible in one country alone, because capitalism is a global society. He was not unknown about the state capitalism, a worst form of so vast capitalism, but it was helpful to protect the decayed capitalism by the nationalized economy, along with a single party government, along with a single man rule. In fact, it's a fascist government of an extreme fascist, a political system of the state capitalism for controlling the whole economy by using the state power from a single hand. But he claimed his state as a socialist, which is totally lie, false and bogus, but an ill-motivated political propaganda to confuse the working class about its emancipation by the communist revolution by the working class alone, by communism, a scientific society of equals, free from slavery, commodity, capital, selling and buying, exploitation, class and class rule, politics, political party, state, etc., with a world association of all, by the all, for the all, to coordinate and communicate the social production and information. So, socialism is not a state, the strongest oppressive machine of the exploiter ruling class, but a most modern society. Even he said lie, even about capitalism, by claiming his state capitalism as socialism to hide the reality of capitalism a global society of numerous commodities, but became full-grown before the Manifesto of the Communist Party is published 1848. Lenin was the chief executive of his state till his death, but his post what he held was not mentioned in his own constitution 1918, though the post of absolute dictator Shah was mentioned in his constitution 1906. Therefore, Lenin was the chief buyer of labor power of the oil slave of his state by paying oils determined by him unilaterally by denying the bargaining right of the exploited oil slaves, recognized by the traditional capitalist law to produce commodity to accumulate capital, the unpaid labor. Noted, he who is a buyer of labor power of the oil slaves to produce commodity to accumulate capital, the dead labor, is a capitalist exploiter. So, Lenin was a gang leader of the capitalist exploiter, as he was the chief buyer of labor power of the oil slave of his state to produce capital by exploiting the exploited oil slaves, but claimed him as a communist, a man who is against oil slavery to end exploitation of men by the working class alone, by banishing capitalism, the last and final exploitative society, and thereby he renaming his party as Communist Party to prompting and confusing the workers of the world, but to justify his false and bogus claim. Noted, exploiters are not only exploiters but also liars. Therefore, the political servants of the capitalist exploiters are not free from lie to justify their political actions to serve the exploiter capitalist class, but claim this political action of them is also for the interest of the working men too. Sure, Lenin was a successful politician by serving the capitalist interest to protect the decayed capitalism by forming his said state, but claimed it as the first socialist country of the world, and thereby he was able to make sure a worldwide circulated myth about his state, a fascist state but a socialist, by ignoring and hiding the real fact of both capitalism and communism, described by Marx and Engels on the basis of science of communism described by Marx, and thereby he was able to ground the scientific formulas formulated by both Marx and Engels about not only communist revolution by the working class alone, but also communism, the historical consequence of capitalism by the existing condition of capital. Therefore, Lenin was a cunning politician who succeeded to confuse the workers about their emancipation by the workers itself only, and the unity of workers of the world is the first condition for the emancipation of the workers by emancipating the whole society from all sins originated from the private property but introduced by the brutal rulers of the class divided society. In fact, he tried his level best to protect the decayed capitalism by dividing the workers of the world not only by the myth about his state but also by the poisonous Leninism, the corruption of science of communism explained by Engels too, but it's the politics of so-called right of self-determination of nations, that is the politics of so-called national liberation, but workers have no nation and country, but they have a world to win by losing their sin, by defeating and banishing the capitalist class, by banishing capitalism for communism, a most modern society with a single one and undivided mankind with full sense of humanity, where everyone is free to do anything freely. No doubt, finally, he failed by the existing condition of capital, by the politics of the capitalist globalization, practicing by the so reactionary capitalist class, by funding some global organizations including IMF to protect the moribund capitalism from its grounding by the revolutionary working class, but none can deny his political success to divide the workers of the world by confusing the workers of the world about their emancipation by communism, by their united action for a time being. So, Lenin was a cunning politician of the capitalist interest.